What's up, y'all?
More watts.
More
We're back.
watts.
We're back.
It's still Black History Month.
Still Black History Month.
And it should continue to be Black History Month going into March.
Every month.
Every month. April, May, June.
July, August.
We are here in Strictly Bicycles in Fort Lee, New Jersey. We switched it up for a special guest today.
Special, very special guest.
Yeah.
Very special
I mean, since we're talking about Black history, we have to invite someone who's part of Black history.
For real.
John Cohen.
Who's actively making Black history.
Appreciate you guys.
Actively.
Currently making history. That's crazy.
Yeah, currently making history. When we first met you, we was just like, oh, what's up, John?
Super cool, super humble and all that.
Right. Very
guy.
casual.
Very casual.
Very nonchalant.
It's like, but how do you introduce yourself? Be like, hey, my name is John. I own a NASCAR team.
Right.
Like, how does that happen?
It'd be douchey. It'd be very douchey if he lay it like that.
Word.
It'll be mad douchey.
My name is John. I own a NASCAR team, and you are
Right? You are? Oh,
you
man.
plebeian. Okay.
Little old Black Watch Chad. Nice to meet you. Nah, but welcome to the show.
I appreciate y'all. Appreciate it.
Yes. So before we get into you, everyone, thank you for listening, watching the More Watts podcast. Please follow us on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, SoundCloud. Am I missing any, y'all?
No, we got
IG,
everything.
of course.
IG, obviously. And once again, we're still trying to reach 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. Once we hit that 1,000, we're going to give away a nice Hammerhead bike computer.
Fresh out the box.
Brand new. It's not used. I didn't drop it.
No chips.
No chips. Might come with a case if you're lucky.
The film is still on it. I didn't pull the film off.
This isn't something Hammerhead said, Chris, you can't return.
You can't return. Right? It's legit.
It's legit. So I'm Chad Bennett. You can follow me on Instagram at Chad Bennett.
I'm Chris, a.k.a. Tron Rides on IG.
Isaac, Black Watch Cycling on IG. You know what it is.
He doesn't have an IG, so every we do this.
No,
You don't have IG.
We do this every week.
Don't worry about
And we
it.
always laugh at him because he doesn't have an IG.
Don't worry about
And then
it.
the guest of all guests
Yes,
today.
John.
John Cohen. You can follow me on John Cohen NY, on Instagram.
Facts.
Facts.
Yes. Well, thank you for coming to the More Watts podcast. I love to just dive right in and talk about your background. Can you kind of like walk us through how you got to where you are today in terms of your career?
I'm from Jersey, of
course.
Vauxhall, but Newark area.
Of course.
So us growing up was a little different. Like I tell most people in NASCAR, like the first burnout I seen was at White Castle.
Donuts.
It was different growing up for us than most people. But I grew up in NASCAR. So I try to explain that to them, but for me it was more motorcycles. Like most people, I came up riding motorcycles, like wheeling down 22, wheeling down 1 and 9, racing on 21. Grew up with most of the redliners. I was doing endos before most kids was doing. I mean, in fact, I fell endoing downtown Newark at a club night, trying to wild out down there. So
Trying to do it for the ladies.
yeah, so
Showing out.
early '90s. So like, my first love was always motorcycles, and as you get older, motorcycles seem to be more dangerous. You got other stuff going on.
You realize the danger of them, right?
Yeah.
So cycling became that same thrill. Riding, two wheels was always a thrill to me.
Yeah.
So the two wheels end up being four wheels in NASCAR. So it all comes together one way or another.
Okay. So, what was like your first introduction? Like, what made you fall in love with NASCAR? Like, what was that moment for you?
Well, it wasn't a fall in love with NASCAR. It was we used to race in the hole late night. Everybody be down in the hole, and we go on 78 and it'd be bets. Like they block off 78 at nighttime, be 1 o'clock in the morning. So drag racing, motorcycle racing was like that first love for racing, as far as cars.
Yeah.
And all my friends was either in jail, dead, or doing something else, and I tried to navigate into like different business. I got into trucking, mortgage business, and then from there it was like all my friends was doing music. So I felt like I wanted to do something different, and I was in racing. So NASCAR kind of fell in my lap.
Oh, wow.
With a kid from Jersey that was running like a late model series, which is like the Pop Warner of NASCAR. It's like the lowest series. And I was like, I can do this. So the next year, I flew to North Carolina and met with like different people in NASCAR, like the legends per se, and they gave me the blueprint of what they knew. You know what I mean? It wasn't really no blueprint for anybody black going into NASCAR.
Right.
Yeah. So that's what I'm trying to change now.
Facts. So wait, so hold on. So let's go back a bit. So you went from just having fun with cars and bikes with your friends to deciding to actually race on like the junior NASCAR circuit. I guess that's the way to describe it.
Yes.
So how was it in terms of just getting the cars?
So
I'm pretty sure you had guys that can drive, right?
Yeah. So when I first started on the, like I said, the Pop One, they already had the cars. So I basically got into their team. And then when I went to North Carolina, I had to buy a team, existing team that was already there. And from there, it was just a building process of going from the middle highest series of NASCAR, which I would consider like the college football, is they call Xfinity Series. So right now, I race a Cup, which is like pro football. And it's Xfinity, what I consider like college football, like I said, and there's a Truck Series that I consider is like semi-pro football. It's all professional athletes, but it's just still levels to get to that the highest level.
Gotcha.
So basically, I started 3 levels down at Pop Warner. And then worked my way up to pro football like anybody else would.
So what was that journey like?
Oh, back then in 2008 when I started.
Yeah, 2008, 9, right?
It was different because it wasn't nobody caring about blacks people in NASCAR. It wasn't nobody caring about like how my feelings was when I seen the Confederate flag. Nobody cared about if somebody said something smart to me at the track. It wasn't none of that. But now, 13 years later, it's a different feel when you go to the track. So, throughout the things of life and what people see goes on outside of the world of NASCAR, it kind of transcended and how to change different, values of the way people thought of you outside of the sport.
When I look at, I'll be honest, I don't watch a ton of NASCAR, but when I do,
To be honest, I don't watch it at all.
I watch it because I used to flip through and then I'd watch the cars like fly around. I'm like, all right, that's all I got, like 10 minutes. But when I do watch it and I look into the stands, I see a lot of just one race.
Yeah.
And it kind of doesn't make me feel like I'm welcomed if I were to be there. Like, that's the feeling that I get. Is that the feeling when you're actually there?
No, so when you're there now, it's like 50 to 60 black pit crew members. So when you're inside the pits, it feels a little different than outside. I mean, of course, it depends on what track you're at. Like, you could be in South Carolina, it can feel one way. It can be in LA, feel the whole. It's like when you really think about it, you go to an NFL game, right?
Yeah.
And you go to like the Giant Stadium sometimes, it looks like a NASCAR race.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know
Especially in them upper tiers.
Yeah,
You go up there.
top. It looked the same. It looked like it looked the same. So I compare, like when you go to like a Charlotte football game, it don't look any different than you go to NASCAR.
Yeah, that's true.
It's the same demo of people.
That's true.
Like we watch football, but do a lot of us go to the games every week? You know what I mean? Compared to another demographic. So
I mean, shit, Knicks games be like that too.
Yeah, true. But basketball is a little different. Basketball is, is us, meaning us. You see the faces of, personalities of the basketball player.
That's true.
Football, you don't see it. In NASCAR, you don't see it because we don't have anybody representing us as far as a driver besides, Bubba Wallace, which he represents us as color, but
Wait, on the pro line, how many
it's
black drivers are there?
One right now, Bubba Wallace.
Yeah, just Bubba, right?
And Rajak Ruth is coming up through the Truck Series, so he's from DC, so he's the first kid from the inner city.
Okay.
Coming his way up in the higher series.
Yeah. I'm curious to know, right? Like, when we talk about getting people into cycling, it's like a sell, right? Like, we're pitching it.
Yeah.
So, like, what's the pitch when you're like, yo, come with me to this Indy 500 event?
Believe it or not, a lot of people never been to a NASCAR race, so they want to go just to see what it is.
See what it's like.
Just to experience it and all that. Yeah.
Once they go, like, I used to bring people, from Newark to the races, and then they be texting me like, "Yo, did you see what this driver did?" I'm like, "You watching the race?" No, maybe 3 weeks later, like. So once you go, it's like you like it. It's just that getting you there to understand, because those cars are way faster in
That's what I
person
hear.
than it is on on TV. TV is like way different than what it is in real life.
They say that about hockey too.
Yeah.
Recently, they had I'm sure, different hirings. I forgot the guy's name. I think his name is Brandon. He's like the VP of DNI.
Brandon Thompson is.
So, yeah.
He's a Clark Atlanta alum.
Yeah, so I mean,
That's my classmate.
NASCAR, the actual organization seems to be trying to make change. I see pushback and all that, but they have a new development team. I saw some young black faces like coming up. How has the change? Is it just as of COVID, like everything else, or are they really serious about this push?
So, it really started after George Floyd, right? When George Floyd, that happened when he passed away, when he was killed. Let me say passed away. When he was killed, NASCAR took a stance on getting rid of the Confederate flag, getting rid of certain demos of people that didn't feel like black people deserved to be in NASCAR. So they like, we don't want you as a fan if that's the case. So from there, that department you're talking is Rev Racing. They've been around for a long time.
Rev, yeah,
Diversity department. They've been around for about 10 to 12 years. They're getting more, like Chevrolet came on board with them. They're getting more of a push, as being a better team, so you can develop more black drivers. Throughout the years, iRacing, which is an internet where you can learn how to drive a real race car, has helped a lot of kids in the black community.
Like a simulator?
Like a simulator.
Oh, that's dope.
So it's easy to, before you couldn't get kids of color into racing because one, you had to have a 2-parent household. One, having a lot of money bringing to the track. And when I say 2-parent household, racing is a lot because if you have 2 kids, one would have to stay and the father would have to go out far.
Traveling and all that.
Traveling.
Yep.
This you get in the simulator, you race and you race against other great drivers and you learn how to drive a race car just like anybody else would, just learn on the track.
Wow, that's reminiscent of Zwift.
Yeah, same thing as
Yeah,
Swift.
it's like Zwift.
Yeah. Same
Zwift.
concept basically.
It's like
Yeah.
Zwift. So I guess the only thing that they would have to get, so even if you get your skill up, turning, cornering, that sort of thing, it would just be getting used to the G-forces.
Yes.
In the car.
Yes.
That'll be the only real shift that they would have to make.
Yes. So that would be the biggest, and learn. So the difference between NASCAR and Formula One, real quick, so you understand, is the drivers have to know all the mechanics pretty much of the car. They need to tell the crew chief what's wrong with their car when it doesn't turn. Most people think these cars just go around the track, and they go in circles, but it's a lot with the circle because they'd be like, well, need to have a bigger engine. Well, you got a fastest engine. If your car don't turn, you don't go around the track. You know what I mean? So it's like, if you're going really fast, you think it's 2 cars going together. One has a bigger motor, one can turn, so you can go down the straightaway really fast. And then once you get to that turn, you got to slow up because your car don't turn. Right. And that other car can be slower, and it get to the turn, and he can be able to turn faster. So he's passing the car with the bigger motor because his engineering skills on that car is way better. So everybody think NASCAR is just turning. It's a lot of, just like cycling. When we ride, it's a draft.
Right.
Daytona to Talladega is the same concept. You got to, the draft make your car go faster.
Yeah.
The
That's
draft
crazy.
saves fuel.
Yeah.
So when we transform to cycling, the second guy, the third guy don't have to pedal as hard.
Sitting back there pretty like
So the same thing. And then when it's time to go, the guy in the second, third on the bike, just like a race car,
pull out,
has more power.
Yep.
So it's a lot of things that correlate together with that.
So when we had the good chance last summer of going to the Indy 500 track, which is massive.
Yes.
Yeah, that was crazy. That was crazy.
It is a sight to experience.
Yo, we didn't get to see the race, but when we were there, we looked around like,
like you can't see the entirety of the whole facility in any one spot. Like you can't see everything.
You really got to be like, all right, here's my view.
Yeah.
This is what I'm getting.
And I'm here.
It's that big.
Yeah.
Talk to what it's like on the ground in the pit as the cars are going, like for our viewing audience to give them a feel. Because like you said, right? Yeah. Like watching a basketball game on TV is different than being in the garden on Christmas or being in the garden when, Steph or LeBron, sorry, Knicks fans.
Relax.
Have killer nights. Like, you know what I mean?
So, at the track, everything is fast. You think about the pit crew changing tires in 10 seconds. 4 tires, gas, in 10 seconds. Some of us can't clip onto our bikes in 10 seconds.
Word.
It's just fact.
Word.
Think about to do that in 10 seconds. Cars going 200 miles an hour at the big tracks like Indianapolis and Daytona. Like, it's a different feel when you see those cars going that fast.
Yeah.
Together. So just think about you going down the Parkway, the Garden State Parkway, right? And you going like 85, and it's traffic, and at the most you might be around 20 cars, at the most, right? To be huddled around you. At a racetrack, you got 40 cars at 200 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Tight.
Yeah.
So just think one mistake.
Yeah.
Cars.
Yeah.
So you got to really be up on your craft to be a NASCAR driver. I don't mean to say like I have old friends that grew up that was not doing the best things growing up, you know, and they call me like, "Yo, I'm the best driver ever." Like,
Snatching them in their sex. I know what you're talking about. We used to be popping them Hondas.
He like, "Yo, I'm the best driver ever." Let me put like, bro, it's not the same.
Yeah.
It's not driving a CRX.
all the dudes who was in Jersey driving all of that back in the day. That was the claim to fame. Like they were the best drivers ever. But
but that was what Honda Accord,
RX-7,
RX,
and the 300Zs.
Right.
Thought there's the best drivers ever.
Right.
It's not the same scenario.
Right.
Speaking of that though, so I was reading that. Regardless to the amount of danger you could possibly be in, the actual cars are super safe as far as, you know, things they put into it after bro died on the track.
Yeah, so when Dale Earnhardt Sr. passed away in 2001, that pretty much set a safety because he was the legend of NASCAR. Mm-hmm. So at the time, I wasn't in the sport, but I remember being in Newark when it happened and had because. I tell people in NASCAR, Dale Sr. was like, even though he was in NASCAR, he was still a lot of people in the hood respected him. Yeah. He was like a legend to us too, because he was like one of those guys that was a tough guy in that sport. So when he passed away, it sent rumblings throughout everywhere. But they wanted to help fix that. So they came up with the Hans device. Because when he hit the wall, his neck snaps.
Because of the force.
The force. So now during the helmet, they have a thing that
almost like the horse collar,
the horse collar and
yep, to the helmet.
So it stops the force of your head jerking like that. So you know that was one of the major things that stops accidents like that. And then NASCAR comes up with different chassis and different center sections every year to improve on safety.
That's
but
dope.
that was and then tracks too, because when you hit them walls. Just think you can have the safest car, but you can hit a wall and the barrier can be hard. So they have safer barriers as well at the tracks to get more, you know, to get safer out there for the drivers.
What it is.
I mean, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I would say out of all the racing sports, I think NASCAR is pretty much the safest. Besides Indy and Formula 1.
Okay.
Yes. I think it's the safest out of all of them.
Harlem Skyscraper, I was there and I was at the curb.
Yeah, right? At
the turn. And when they were coming around at 30 miles an hour, I was like, oh, I got to move back. Like,
because you felt all that.
I felt all that.
And that's 30 miles an hour.
30 miles an hour. And it just makes me think about, like, what is it like to have that first row seat at a Daytona or an Indy? Like, what's that like?
So I never sat in the stands.
Ever?
Never. I never sat in the stands, so I don't know what it feels like at Daytona to go by at that. But what I've heard is it's like a jet going by. You know what I mean? And it will pull you. You stand in the right space.
The drag is
you
so heavy.
down the stands. That's how.
Wow.
If you catch you stand in the right place, and the car is going down at 200, it will drag you down the stands a little bit.
Were you guys usually like owners or?
Yeah, we have a pit box, so it's like a big box that we sit on that we look down. You know, when the car comes to pit, our engineers and crew chiefs all sit up there and the mechanics. That's how we work on the car during the race.
So I have a question. So let's step back a bit because I think your journey in this is what's interesting.
Yeah, we got to get on that.
Like, so you went from the Pop Warner, which was they supplied the car. You know, you just had to identify athletes to drive. Yeah. But talk to us about how you move up the ranks. Like, is it a big financial commitment? You know, like what were some of the challenges and things that, you know, looking back, you were like, man, I wish I would have known that. So
me coming up the ranks, yes, it's a big financial commitment, and two, it's sponsorship. Just like cycling, you know, it transport the same. So when it comes to NASCAR, sponsorship takes about, you know, to run competitively about $20 million a year. And that's every race to be competitive. That's what the big teams get.
Yeah.
In the recent years, it's come down to about 15 to be competitive. For me, I didn't have any alliance with any until 2 years ago with any manufacturer. So I was out there in the blind, like trying to figure out how just tire pressures.
Right.
You would think like, you know, how, like when you cycle, like tire pressure is everything as well. Like
Yeah.
80, 100, that changes.
Yeah.
Changes everything. It's the same thing with tire pressures, with qualifying it, how you qualify it, where your tire pressures need to be. So it's a lot that I didn't know that bigger teams could get at the time that make it easier for them. So back then I had to qualify in all the time, you know, because that's the way the rules were. So it was harder for me. So I missed a lot of races.
Yeah.
The learning curve was just crazy.
It wasn't a learning curve. It was no curve at all for me. You know,
Right.
like,
It was like a cliff, like you know or you don't.
It was like, all right, I'm jumping in the NASCAR. I went down there. I learned. I stayed down there for a little while learning the car first. So I didn't want them to tell me what this needed because I want to know myself.
Right.
Because I don't want anybody just telling me anything because that's what happens. You know, people will tell you, oh, this is why the car's not fast. This is why now I know why the car's not fast. I know why certain things don't happen, why my car is not, you know, performing well. In the beginning, I didn't know that.
Gotcha.
Like the littlest things you wouldn't think, just from how you wrap the car.
Yes.
Like if certain teams wrap a car a certain way, it makes it faster.
Yeah.
Like all the sponsor graphics and all that.
Like
Yeah.
if you wrap it a certain way, the way you wrap it can create downforce on the car.
Yeah.
My mind blown right now.
No, but you know what?
So
The synergy between this and cycling is insane, right?
yeah.
Because it's like when you wear a looser jersey versus like one of those tight fit aero jerseys,
Yeah.
right? And this will be more akin to like when they're doing the hour record on the TT bars, where now they have kits where they'll make the uniform, but they'll put aero properties on. If you're only going around left, they'll put aero properties only on the left shoulder and how it angles across the back based on how the airflow is going. So this makes perfect sense.
Yeah, no, it correlates with cycling and
like, how did you find that out though? Like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, they wrapped my car wrong, so I lost a half a second.
You know, rumors get out there of you know, different designers that design cars, like, hey, this is, and you start looking at like you really take a competitor car and you zoom in and you like, man, this wrap is a little far up than where it needs to be. Like,
Wow.
and you're like, oh, that's a little thicker right there. And they wrapped it twice. Sometimes you get caught, you get fined because you like you can't, certain things you can't do. You know,
Gotcha.
some things it's cheating going on.
Right.
Gotcha.
And when I say cheating, some teams do cheat.
Right.
You know, and they until they get caught.
Right.
And then you can't do that no more.
Got you.
So then they say it's not cheating until you get caught.
That's
There's
a
a rule to fix that, but
Right.
some teams know how to expand on that.
Yeah.
Stepping that line, that habitual line stepping. So
Yo,
you tell
that's
me that's
crazy. So all y'all with like decals on your bikes, you slow.
When you like keeping with the journey, like after when you were moving up, at some point you had to make a purchase, eventually, like a car.
Oh no, I made the purchase in the beginning.
Oh, for the okay.
Yeah. When I first
so
got
when
in,
you were doing Pop Warner, you purchased, even though they supplied the cars, you purchased your own car.
no, they already had it set up, so I came in and bought
Gotcha.
into
So
that
you like
team.
bought the team.
Got
Yeah,
you.
Oh, okay.
That team.
Got you.
That was light.
Okay.
Those cars are cheap. But when I got to the Cup, when I got to that next year, I bought that team, an existing team that was going out of business.
Okay.
At the second level of NASCAR.
So let me make sure I understand. So you came in, you did Pop Warner for a year,
Yeah, a year.
a little over a
Yeah,
year maybe.
Yeah.
You went down, you learned, educated yourself as much as you could.
Yes.
Right. And then the next year you were like, you saw an opportunity.
Yeah.
And you went up.
So with that move, I knew enough people to get sponsors to go to the next level. So my man Vaughn, I had sponsors, but into next year it was like fading out, like going into that. So Vaughn Smith was one of my friends. He was at Cabby at the time, you know, and Cabby and Macy's came in and helped me get going that next year and nationwide. You know,
Nice.
That helped catapult me into the next.
Nice.
When you're pitching to sponsors and partners, can you just kind of talk through like what's the approach? How do you like have those conversations? Because it's got to be like, wait, what do you do? Wait, what do you want from us?
So I want to tell this before we like when it comes to sponsors, and this is if you know CMOs, black CMOs, we have a blueprint of a lot of black CMOs now, and I'm a lot about seeing it. And the thing is, what my gripe is, just to be honest, we cycle, right?
Yep.
And if you had a team in a cycling team, Black Watts, and you're doing crit racing, you went for sponsors. a lot of black CMOs that's in that position now look at it like, that's not for me. But they don't take it like it's a lot of black people that cycle.
Yes.
It's like it's a lot of black people that watch NASCAR.
Yes.
Yeah.
Same story, bro.
Same story.
You talking?
You're triggering me right now. You
So
triggering.
my thing is, don't look at it like just because you don't do it, you don't think it's cool that it's not a lot of black people getting into it. Tiger Woods, I mean, I played golf when I was young. You know, Tiger Woods wasn't cool, but somebody saw the vision. Look, golf now for black people is second nature.
Yes. Yeah.
That's what I was doing before I got into cycling.
Yeah.
I was playing golf.
I mean, I played football in high school, so my linebacker coach, and I played at Union. So like in the '90s, we was powerhouse. We was the number 2 team in the country as far as high school sports. So my linebacker coach was the golf coach. So I played golf in high school. I had golf scholarships.
Wow.
Nice.
It was always, I always like to do something a little different. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, but I had golf scholarships in high school. And I
That's
used to
dope.
hide my bag from people. Like, I didn't want to see my bag.
Like you play golf? What you doing with those?
Football and golf. I used to hide in the car, like, hope they see my bag.
Right.
And now they play more golf than me.
Right.
Like, all the people I was hiding from, you know, and they laughing like, you playing golf? I'm like, and now all
Now
I'm
look
playing
at
golf.
them.
It's the same thing with cycling. Everybody
Yeah.
like, cycle with the pants on.
Yeah,
And I'm like,
yo.
how them pants fit?
Right.
Because they out here now. They still do. They outside.
I'm not never wearing a suit. Or
Yeah.
you could get that awesome suit. Yeah. It takes time for everybody to transform, but
Yeah.
you know, just people just need to see representation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of
Yeah.
your, is Grambling one of your biggest sponsors still?
No, so Grambling was, I went to school there.
Yeah,
So,
okay.
So the HBCU League Pass was, we did collaborations with a lot of the schools.
Okay.
But I wanted to do Grambling first because I was, you know, that's my alma
Definitely.
mater, yeah. But I did Grambling, Morehouse, Norfolk State, Stillman, and a couple others.
You gotta do Clark Atlanta, man.
I was gonna work on Clark Atlanta,
Man,
but
you gotta do Spellman, man. Don't worry about no CA. Going over the Spellman. man.
I used to go to the AU Center, and Clark Atlanta was like my first stop, you know, there.
Of course
But,
it is,
yeah.
you know?
Of course
it
that was in
is.
the 90s.
There you go.
Yeah, shout out to Brandon Thompson. Literally, that was one of my classmates, and he started at NASCAR like really early. And even for me, when I saw that he went there, I was kind of like, okay, like ain't nobody at NASCAR, so let's see how this works out for you, Brandon. You know,
I like that talk, that vision.
Yeah, but like to see where he is today and what he's doing, and now just to know you and see what you're doing is amazing. I think
Yep.
it's really dope, and it just shows the progression of the sport
Yeah.
of racing. So
when Brandon got in, like Terrence J, they was all interns. Fred, all of them was.
wait,
interns.
Terrence J too?
Yeah, he was an intern in NASCAR. For
I
a
did
long
not know
time.
that.
Wow.
Yeah, he had got like that's one when he came out of at A&T.
A&T.
He interned at
Yeah.
NASCAR.
Yeah.
That was one of his first starts.
Wow, that's crazy.
So I just want to take a quick step back. Sorry, when you were talking about the CMOs,
Uh-huh.
right?
Oh, yeah.
and really trying to get them
let's
to
get into that.
understand.
Yeah, please.
No, I
Yeah.
really want to peel back the layers on that
Yeah.
because that can be the difference between, you know, like you potentially having an opportunity to win
Yes.
and just barely competing.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. So for me, like I tell CMOs now, before I could understand why you don't want to spend money in NASCAR, but NASCAR is different now.
Yeah.
They're trying to test more demographics. When Chevrolet came on board with me, they came with a diversity angle with me. But as I got with them in the last 2 years, I noticed they're into equity. They said, "Hey, look, you've been in the sport a long time. Nobody's helped you. We're gonna help you get to that point where you need to be on a diversity angle. You know, we want to support diversity.
Right.
But the people that's in Chevrolet said, not only we're gonna support diversity, we're gonna support equity. When I say equity, meaning they gave me all the tools that I need to be equal with every other team. They treat me like every other team
Right.
in the Chevy ranks. Like it's
That's
nothing
what's
I
up.
can't get with any other team. That's why I support Chevrolet so much, because nobody else, when you come to companies, say, all right, I'm part of diversity. That's a check. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? But equity is a whole nother angle.
Yeah,
like
it
you
is.
say, like, I'm gonna check my box and just, hey, put you in there. But if you're not helping us to stay there, what's the whole point of helping me with diversity?
Right.
That's been our message. I mean, we don't have a Black History Month series, but that's kind of been what we've been talking about every episode of Black History Month, which is They don't see us as partners. Like a lot of brands don't truly see us as partners, which you're determining as equity.
Yes.
It's more so like they want to donate, i.e. check the box and then be like, oh, well, we gave you X. But it's like, yo, but I'm not on the same level as...
No, they just give you a stool.
Yes.
No, let's give a prop up to level you to exactly
Yes,
where everyone else is at.
Exactly.
I'm saying that's what Chevy did.
Yeah, Chevy did that, and most brands won't do that. They'll just do the minimum just to check the box and say, oh, we did this last year.
Yes.
You know, we did that last year. But no, we 13% of the population, and we spent 50% at your company.
Right.
So how is that even possible?
Right.
How are you not spending more?
Yeah.
Like we 13% of the population, and we spent 50% of
That's wild.
Of your sales, of
your revenue,
yes.
Your revenue, but we don't matter to give us both.
Yeah.
Right.
To respect the whole everything across the board.
So who? I'm sorry, I just want to give them a chance to shout out all your sponsors. Since we're talking about the ones that you know, like who are some of your major sponsors?
So
the ones
like
you want to celebrate and uplift.
Most of the HBCUs, Puma came in heavy.
Okay.
Chevrolet. Those are the ones right now.
Okay. Chevy and one of the HBCUs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, because as I'm listening to you talk, I'm like, man, at this point, there should be another John on the race circuit at this point, right?
I mean, so it's when I started, I was the only black owner, and I'm still the only fully owned black team. I won't sell my team out. I'm being candid. I tell everybody that my team will always stay all black.
New York
So
race.
100% of the ownership is by black owners.
It's about black ownership because I wanted to give down to I just had a son, give it down to him.
Yeah.
A lot of people when they come in, they look at it like as a business, and they're like, "Are we gonna build it up and sell it?"
Yeah.
No, you talking legacy right here.
Yeah.
I'm not. Nobody sold the Giants. They still own it.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
and most of the teams that you see in the like professional teams, if it wasn't controversy, they'll still own it.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like the Yankees still own
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
If it wasn't controversy of some sort, they would still own the team.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
So I just want to make sure I have my team is around, just like the Petties, just like the, Hendrick Motorsport, all the big teams who started, and they didn't sell out. They wanted to keep their team for themselves.
So what is that like with MJ?
So Michael Jordan started the team with Denny Hamlin. So he owns.
So he's a partner.
Partner with Denny Hamlin and one other guy. I can't think of his name. That partnered with the Charlotte Hornets.
Gotcha.
So it's me, Michael Jordan, and that's it.
Gotcha. That's it. Just the two of you.
Some other people that I'm not gonna say the name.
No, I'm with you.
But it's more of a licensee deal.
Yes.
Oh,
yes,
okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're saying the difference between you and MJ is that, again, nothing's wrong with how MJ is doing it, but you're saying your team is 100% black owned.
That's amazing.
I told NASCAR the other day, I'm like, you got Brad Doherty's been in the sport a lot. He's a part.
Brad Doherty too?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
He was there before I was.
Okay.
Yeah, he was a minority owner. When he first came.
He's been around the sport though for a while, all right?
So I wanted to say about Brad Doherty. When I first got in, I would call Brad. He would be somebody I could lean on for just to vent, not advice. I'd be like venting to Brad. Brad's like, I understand. Brad was cool about that. But Michael Jordan, I mean, I told NASCAR, I said, look, if it wasn't for athletes in the sport, who would you have left? Me. I'm the only non-athlete owner in the sport.
Right, black. No,
Black.
Right.
Black non-athlete owner. Like I wasn't a billionaire. I came up through the ranks of NASCAR to be at the Cup level. So
that's amazing.
And how do they respond to that? Because there's power in that statement you just made, right?
When are they gonna tell your story?
It's not them telling the story. It's me telling my story.
Yeah,
you know what
I love that.
And
that's why you're here today with us.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times you hear stories about different people, like I can't think of her name, and excuse me for that sat on the bus before Rosa Parks. Stories like that. You hear later on, like 50 years later, it was more people involved with different things that wasn't televised or wasn't told to us, and we found out later, and you'd be like, wow, So I want to tell my own story when it's time.
There it is.
Yeah,
and it ain't time yet.
All right, I love that.
Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah, it just makes me think like with cycling. Like at this point, man, like there's got to be another Legion. There's got to be another black-owned cycling team.
Yes.
Like we have, like Bahati and Methods to Winning. Then you have Legion, but then it just kind of stops.
Yeah. more of us need to be in that ownership position.
Yeah.
But John's message is, yeah, okay, fine. You can start at Pop Warner. You do need some finances to even get started.
Yeah.
But to really elevate and compete, you need sponsors.
Yes.
And John's message was around the importance of the CMOs understanding how important it is that black people, viewers, participants, whatever the case may be, that we are there, the audience is there. So this isn't like you're just donating a few million dollars. It's like, no, this is actually a good investment.
Yeah.
Sure.
Did they position it as like risk? Sometimes they like, when they hand you something, they almost position it like, okay, I'm going to give you this. We're not quite sure how this will work. You know, it just feels like
A little test run.
Yeah, a little test run. Like,
You understand the budgets of some of these companies? You talking about like some of these budgets, marketing budgets be $3 billion.
Yeah.
and we getting
Right,
like
right. So for you to get like $5 million is like them giving you a half a penny.
Yeah, it's $3 billion.
Right.
You're talking to the chief marketing. Like, it's not somebody on their staff.
Like, oh, I
the
gotta go
person.
up.
Yeah,
Nah.
but I mean, a lot of times the money go to media dollars, so, you know, and that's why you see Byron Allen, you know, had his big thing about media dollars, how black companies wasn't getting their just due as far as media dollars.
Right.
But there's nobody out there speaking for, like me, of just due, of how, you know, because I honestly, I had a disagreement with the people at Coca-Cola Racing. Like, I'm like, and I didn't have them directly, but I have talks with other people, like, how's Coca-Cola not supporting me on levels where we spend the most money? And that's when it came back to that.
Same thing.
Like,
Same thing.
But if I start going out there and you know,
Broadcasting
shitting
it.
on them,
Right. Then
Then it messes
to
up
make a
any
message,
opportunity.
then
Right.
it's like, oh, now you want to react to it.
Right.
We really have to go out and
Wow, sounds familiar. Sounds familiar.
It's the same, bro.
Wow.
You know what's powerful about your story, John? And to be perfectly honest with you, before we met you, I knew nothing. I don't watch NASCAR, you know, but meeting you and these guys were already on it. I'm gonna say it like they were already on it, and they were like, "Come on, Chris." I'm like, NASCAR, you know. So then I actually started researching as much as I can. Google about you, find out about you. I was on it, like just a study, right? What I love about your story and just sitting with you today is that all throughout Black American history, you've been there, right? You go back to slavery time, there was a John there.
Yeah.
You go through Reconstruction, there was a John there. You go through Jim Crow, the fight for equal rights, civil rights.
Yeah.
You gave the example of Rosa Parks and the young lady that was before her.
Yeah.
There was a John there, right? Like, so, you know, for us, where we sit, because we just really came into cycling in 2020 through COVID. But having you and hearing your story continues to amplify that much hasn't changed.
Yeah. I mean,
Right? I mean, it's changing, like you said, like, you know, like we are making incremental steps. But for you to have been doing this since 2009, bro, that's what, almost 15 years now?
So me and a lot of executives, I don't want to put their names.
No,
out
I
there,
got you. I'm with you.
NASCAR is close, and I really break it down to them about different things about me, right? And I tell them, like, for me, like, my family was slaves.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, my last name Cohen was a slave name. Like,
Yes.
I had Jewish slave owners. Go back to Charleston, South Carolina.
Yes.
My grandmother was from Albany, Georgia. My father and my grandmother's from Albany, Georgia. Albany, Georgia was the part before Selma.
Yes.
It was a Sheriff Pritchett, you know,
Yep.
that was there. That was heavy on locking black people up, beating them up, and letting them go before the press and before anybody.
Yeah.
That's how they. That if you watch the movie Selma, you're like, we have to change what Albany did to get it across. So Albany was like the test ground before Selma hit. And my grandmother was like close with that Martin Luther King. Like I got pictures of my grandmother Martin Luther King at her house.
Nice.
You know what I'm saying?
Nice.
Like just there, like trying to figure out, because it was a church called Mount Zion, and at the time Reverend Grant was the minister at that church. So him, you know, Martin Luther King, all them, you know, came up with ways of trying to get voting rights in. And it's my grandmother.
Yes.
I mean, I explained
Like
to
this
him.
your granny who can cook a meal for you and sit down with, you know?
So let's go to my father. My
Yeah.
father, Chu, couldn't eat, you know, use a bathroom. You know, that's the same white people couldn't drink from the same faucet. So all you know, this is my father told him. This is not, you know, this is not
not
like
like four or five people
4 or 5
removed.
generations.
Right.
This is my father.
Right.
My brother, right, was a cop in Springfield. If you look, my brother Walter Brooks, right, he heard his captain say. He was the only black cop there for years, for like 20 years. His captain said, The best thing about Ireland was no respect to Jews, right? You heard him say that. He like came at him like, hey, what'd you say? They start putting rats, bullets, everything that's locked. He had to sue the police department in Springfield,
Wow.
you know, and get the captain out. This is my brother. I had to explain to him like, this is the fight we have to go through.
Yeah.
You know, just being black in America is different. I said, and I explained to him, I don't mean to go off this way, but
Go,
man.
This is what
Please
it's
do.
about.
Yeah.
it's not one generation of black Americans that haven't fought or had some type of threat to their life every generation since we've been in America.
Yeah.
So, you know, when I go to the track sometimes before, you know, a couple years ago, I would be in arguments with security guards because I'd be walking and all the owners go one way and the security guard would be like, no, you got to go that way. And I'm like, we have laminates. Owner, you still got to go that way. I'm arguing with him, like ready to, no disrespect to my, you know, like to the sport, but I'm ready to fight.
Right.
Yeah.
And then NASCAR security comes over, and then, you know, because the security at the tracks is different than NASCAR.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, so you traveling? Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yep.
you know, you get certain people in certain areas that don't respect you being black, and don't care.
And you know, you're a fresh brother, so you coming through.
Yeah.
And I'm
Swaggy. Swaggy,
like,
you know?
So they looking like, what are you doing here? You don't look like
you
an
see
owner.
my lanyard, like.
Yeah.
So I even had discussions with NASCAR, like maybe you should just change the color of the laminates. Because all our laminates are the same, the colors. It just says owner at the bottom.
Yeah.
From like, it could be a mechanic to what's the name?
Right.
So I don't get into a situation where it's going to be on the news.
And it's a little small thing like that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The smallest things. Smallest things that help me not be on the news.
Right.
Do you talk to them, or do they tap you to be like, hey, John, let me get your ideas on some things? So they acquired like that?
No, but I give it to them.
Yeah.
I give it to them. Just like I tell them about like how they're trying to get more of a black demographic, right? And Bubba Wallace is the representative to the demographic. But I explained to them, like, you got to push all the black drivers, whether they're the lowest series or the highest series, because black people just don't go to, just because you black, they going to like that person.
Yes.
Right.
It's like in basketball, people like LeBron, they like Steph. Everybody, we see something in that person.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you just depending on every black person to like a certain driver.
Yeah.
It's gonna happen.
Basketball has multiple players you can pick from.
Different personalities, different playing styles,
Yeah.
everything.
Stop forcing Bubba on us, you know?
But again, Bubba's important.
Bubba's important.
It's like Lewis
but-
Hamilton, right?
Lewis is a little different. Lewis is from overseas, and he's in a sport that's highly popular right now as far as excitement.
Yeah.
You know,
F1, yeah.
F1 racing is not better than NASCAR racing, but the environment to go to a F1 race is sexy.
Ooh, I love
Which out
F1.
Milan and all that type of stuff.
I love
Le Mans is
F1.
different. So Le Mans is a totally different series. That's a race that they have every year. It's
24-hour race.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Yeah.
So Formula One. See, most people think Formula One and Indy is the same cars.
no.
You know, NASCAR.
Oh, nah.
So it's like Le Mans is a totally different car. It's an endurance race for 24 hours in. You know,
It's like us riding 400 miles race. It's like a 400-mile bike
know,
race.
in
It's just a
in the
different.
streets.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Streets
I'm
and-
good.
Yeah.
I'll be ready to go after a 5-hour trip.
Yeah, so for Lewis Hamilton, he kind of was able to bring pop culture into Formula One with the people he was around, and it escalated what he was doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bubba has not been able to do that in NASCAR yet
Yeah.
because he's not friends or doesn't have the same relationships like Lewis Hamilton.
Gotcha.
Swiss Beats ain't Bubba friend.
Right.
Is that something that you want to do, like bring more of us to the sport, whether it's your driver, whoever it may be, or your pit crew, all of that?
I just want to bring our culture to the sport.
Period.
Facts. I was getting ready to say, like, that's what's really needed, our culture.
So I tell people, like, and most people like, black people ain't going to NASCAR. I'm like, black people ain't go to Kentucky Derby till it's fly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Look at us
So-
now.
Look at it now.
So let's
You know,
figure it
it's
out.
made it
Wow.
sexy. You know,
Yeah.
Now black people want to go to Kentucky Derby.
Word.
They want to go to Preakness.
They want to go dressed up.
Yes,
All
yes.
that.
People who not even from
Think about Preakness and
Right.
Kentucky Derby years
Right.
ago.
at all.
Instagram posts, couple girls do this.
Couple hats and some brunches
Yes.
and all that.
People
We
looking
all like
fresh.
We in Kentucky all of a sudden.
That's real.
Yes, yes.
And nothing's in Kentucky, but we find out we're here for a race that's 10 seconds.
Right.
10 seconds. 2 days, 10 seconds, we out.
Because every time we touch the culture on something, it always shifts and the popularity of it increases. And for me, it just blows my mind that like large corporations don't see that.
I think they do.
They do that, but they don't. The problem is, a lot of corporations are play safe now. They getting their jobs. They fight their way to get that job, and they get there, and they don't want to lose it. Just being safe, and then they end up losing it anyway.
Yeah, because you ain't doing nothing,
and you bet wrong.
You bet wrong.
Because we talk about this all the time. This subject matter, but like, it's not you're not necessarily going up against that corporation. If you only see that CMO, or if you only see a VP, that's who you're going up against, just that one person. So if their mindset is a little off or different, then it's like, oh yeah, that company is trash. Like, nah, I think that person is trash. You know what I mean? Like, it could just be that one individual.
You wouldn't believe how these corporations work. Like, so the chief marketing officer still makes the decisions, but they give the money to the agencies. So the agencies get most of the money, and you got to get the agencies to kind of go what you're doing.
Yeah.
So
now you got two fights.
It's like trying to figure out where the money at.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the biggest part. Like, a lot of people think the money, like, they think like Verizon has the money, but the agency has the money already, and they know what they had a plan.
The marketing
to do. The marketing agency.
Yep.
So now you got to convince the marketing agency, and then they got to turn around and convince the brand.
So you got to do two steps.
Yeah.
You have to do two steps.
And so, how insular is, like, you're with Chevy now? Like, say you're like, okay, it sounds like or it feels like this relationship with Chevy is ending. I want to now go to Ford. How insular is it where like someone at Chevy could say, John's cool, he's all right, yeah, you know?
Yeah, no, I mean, they wouldn't say, teams have moved manufacturers, but for me, I told people, like, somebody, like, how the conversation came up was Deion Sanders, you know, like that whole Jackson State.
Yes, leaving Jackson State.
I was kind of upset when he first made the move to be a candidate, you know.
I was too.
Yeah, I was upset. And then, you know, you see the things like, well, what have you done for HBCU as well? I put a lot. I paid for half of the cars to go on the track meet. Not even the schools I went to.
Right.
So I think I can make an opinion. I think, like, and I don't mean to go off again.
No, please. This is what it's about.
I think Deion should have left a longer blueprint at Jackson State. That's my opinion.
Talk to him, John. Talk to him.
That's just my opinion. So with companies coming into what we're doing, they don't understand like how much we can change. And when I say like Chevrolet know I can change the sport. So and they listening to me and saying, John, we're gonna back you to the end of time. No other company would do that. So I wouldn't lead. That's why I said
I see what you mean.
Comparison to Deion, he saw Colorado and was like, you know, the gold over there, I'm gonna go. Colorado might get rid of you in 2 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Chevy's already proven to me they're here with me forever.
You said the equity play, like that's all
the
important
equity
right there.
play is important.
And it took you how long to get to this way with Chevy?
Oh man, I only got to him 2 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, and honestly, it wasn't because it was kind of my fault. No, let me take that back. It wasn't my fault. It kind of was not me being aggressive with different companies.
Interesting. Describe this aggressiveness. What do you mean?
Meaning,
by that?
like, before George Floyd, I'd be like, I never said I was black in NASCAR. I just wanted to be an owner that happened to be black in NASCAR. I didn't want to be like looked at as being a diversity play.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then I seen
That
all
box
these,
check again.
Yeah, and then I seen everybody that wasn't part of diversity getting money that I should have got years ago.
Right.
And I'm like, how are they getting money? They not even diversity.
Right, they're not even.
How is that a diversity play? And that's not even diversity. So that's when I changed it. Like I want my money.
Yeah.
Right.
You're saying diversity. And now I don't mean to say my money from Chevy. I'm saying,
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're giving out.
Yes.
You're
You want
giving
an
it out.
opportunity and you want to have access to those resources.
Yes.
Right.
It's a fact.
Yeah, I want
Yeah.
what you say you're doing, what you put on paper on a newspaper that you're going to help diversity, help black-owned businesses. I want my just do what you're saying out there.
And you know what you saying that, John, is great because the three of us, we play off each other really well, right? Like our personalities are similar, but there's some places where it diverges drastically. But we do come together in that same thing. We're all about pushing. Like we're going to keep pushing you, and even with our existing relationships, we push and we lean and we push, and it becomes uncomfortable at times. But we do it because we're trying to following your footsteps, so to speak.
Yep, exactly.
Right? You don't know it
Yeah.
but you're creating a nice wake and a nice draft for us.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
know?
Yeah.
So I'm part of a urban racing school. It's out of Philadelphia. It's a STEM program, and it's been around for 25 years. Chevrolet has been a partner to them. That's how I got connected directly to the higher ups of Chevy through the urban racing school. That's why I was able to have real conversations with them. But for me, it's like trying to get more kids of color into NASCAR, and not as a driver, as an engineer, as
Yes.
Any points in NASCAR on the
NASCAR
business
has so many
side.
verticals
Yes, yes.
that we can get into that we can't get into the NFL because we don't know anybody in NFL to get into PR unless you have a in. But NASCAR is ready. Like I said, Terrence J was an internship.
Right.
Brandon was an internship. So NASCAR is the only sport that's more accessible to get into. So
On the mechanical engineering side, the media side.
the media side, PR side.
Yeah.
Business side is a C-suite side. It's
Right.
so much stuff that you can come as verticals in NASCAR.
Yeah.
Because NASCAR is now showing up on HBCU campuses during like career fairs and career day.
Yeah.
They're doing that stuff.
That's your
And
work?
I mean, that's my work and Brandon Thompson's work. I mean,
Yeah.
he's. But I've been highlighting HBCUs for a long time. Through NASCAR. When I first got in, but for me, it's more or less now they see the value of HBCUs.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
That's crazy. We're talking like billions of dollars that these marketing departments have, and it's just kind of like they're just holding on to it.
Well, John is saying they're not holding it. They're put like, so it goes from the company to an agency.
Yeah.
Then the agency becomes that gatekeeper. So now John is saying he has to make relationships on both sides.
So you'll look at it like this. It'll be they'll have a certain budget for the year. Like, all right, we're putting this to media, we putting this to diversity, and a lot of times they don't even know where to spend it because a lot of companies don't go at them to see where they can put it. So a lot of times the money goes back into the budget.
Right.
And they might spend it somewhere else because they don't.
Yep. Like, oh, well, we didn't use this line item.
They will lose it.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
A lot of times that happens.
Right.
Yeah. And it's like when they're like, oh, we don't have budget, and we all like roll our eyes on it.
All right, so.
All right.
But that means that it isn't allocated. So, John, like, what should folks like us be doing, right? Like, what can we take? What lessons can you share with us in terms of, and we'll let you do a closing statement because I know we've taken a lot of your time.
That's
And we
fine,
appreciate you having it. But like, what kind of things would you say that we could do to help us get closer to getting the sponsorship that we would like? Because we have aspirations of having a race team.
Yeah.
As what? Because we do a lot in the community and stuff like that. We want to marry the two things together. Having, early development
What y'all
team.
doing is dope. I commend y'all. Like,
Thank you.
There's not a lot of black cyclists, and it's not a lot of you guys, putting it out there.
Yeah.
So, like, people fail to realize it's a lot of black cyclists out there.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of celebrity black cyclists. I remember at one point, like, Ray Lewis was riding a lot.
Yeah.
Usher.
Yeah.
Reggie Miller.
Yeah.
Reggie Miller. Reggie still rides.
Reggie still rides.
Reggie still rides.
Reggie tries to get after it, like
he-
on a
he
polo.
he's racing. Yeah, he's
mountain
racing.
bikes and gravel.
Reggie's
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so cycling, is competitive. So if you're a competitor, once you start going out there, it's like, all right, I'm competing.
Right.
Yeah. So you have that same, competitive level. So I can see why Reggie loves it so much and Ray loves it so much. Is you out there and you start riding, you're like, damn.
Right.
And I explained to people, like, they were like, well, this hill, I'm like, that hill never gets easier.
You just get stronger. Yeah.
The hill don't
Faster, it
change.
gets harder.
Right,
As
right,
you get faster,
right.
that hill gets harder because
Right.
now you're pushing yourself.
Yep.
Right.
So I tell people that's life. That hill never gets easier. You gotta keep. You get faster. You're gonna have to still get faster to get up that hill, no matter what. That hill always gonna be there.
Yeah.
Trying to get a KOM now, all that. Like,
Right.
it turn, it changes.
You might beat that next person, but you still, racing it yourself.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's life. You're always gonna race against yourself.
So what do you see as the cross section between NASCAR and American criterium cycling? Like,
So a lot of NASCAR drivers cycle, believe it or not. A lot of people, like, you will see, like, after practice, it's like 40, 50 guys go out and ride heavy.
Really?
Yeah, the president of NASCAR, Steve Phelps, he rides heavy.
oh wow.
Yeah, like me and him did the grand final one time together.
Oh, nice. Oh, yeah, you were telling me. Yeah,
so
for real.
he rides heavy. Jimmy Johnson rides heavy. Between NASCAR and the Crit Series, I would say the demo is similar as far as fan base. I would say it's similar to the fact of it's only one black team out there representing, and representing the culture. reason, trying to get more black people into the sport. And it's just something that both sports, black people just never got into. Like as kids, we all rode bikes. I had to think about that the other day.
Yeah.
I was driving. I'm like, it's like 10 miles from here to here. I went from like, I was like in Vauxhall and I drove over to 22. I'm like, it's like 10 miles. I'm like, I used to ride over here on a bicycle.
And not think twice.
Not think twice. I'm like, man, it's 10 miles. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
You know, but I mean, for us now, like, you know, it's nothing. But a lot of kids ride bicycles. And I think for a long time, generations of kids stopped riding bikes and came back.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think it might be easier for like a cycling group to get more kids into cycling, because now I see a lot of kids are into bikes. It was like at least 10 years that I haven't seen kids on bikes.
That's true.
Yeah.
And like you see a lot of kids in Harlem riding bikes and kids in Jersey.
Yeah, on the wheelie bikes. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
kids wasn't riding bikes for a long time.
That's
They
what it
feel
felt like.
I never see kids on a bike no more.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
they ride up to like 5 years old and then that'd be it.
Yep. Yep.
And then now you see kids everywhere riding bikes. So
Yeah.
that could help out, you know, a lot of times now to get kids from doing that to doing something, you know, competitively. You know, like riding, I think once they get off the wheelie bikes and start riding a, you know, a road bike and seeing how fun it is.
Yeah.
You might start getting more kids, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why Harlem skyscraper is so important, because it's right in the heart of Harlem.
Yeah.
You know, and
Marcus Garvey Park.
yeah, and the kids can experience, because like you said with NASCAR, once you out there, you see that, you feel that energy.
Yeah, it's different.
And those kids, they could just be on the sideline watching, but the point of it is you have to make it, you have to position the race to be in that neighborhood. And it takes a lot of support from the major brands to say, let's not risk, let's invest in placing a race here in this neighborhood so the community can see it, and the kids can say, you know what, I saw Justin, or I saw Bahati, or who is that?
Yeah.
Or
You know?
my buddy's brother is
Yeah, he
racing.
races too.
Yeah.
He's out there,
You know?
with Bahati and Justin or whoever the person is.
Yeah, but you know, like,
Corey
and
or
that's
whatever.
and John, that's sort of the fight we've been fighting, is trying to get brands to do those things, because you know, you placing a gravel bike ride in the middle of, quite frankly, white America isn't really helping the community much. You know, like these
It isn't
road
helping
races.
to expand the sport either.
So
Yeah.
did y'all do the Raffle ride? And, was that
Yes, in Bentonville.
In Bentonville?
Yeah, we
In
did.
Arkansas, yeah, we went out
we were
there.
there.
Yeah, we were there.
the CMO of Walmart was there, like
Yeah.
riding heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like, that's how you connect your dots right there to show, you know, like
Yeah.
if he rides, he understands it. You know?
Yeah.
So that's how you connect the dots or
Yeah.
something like that. Y'all supposed to connect with him while he was there. I don't know if y'all did or not.
No, we didn't.
We did not.
We did not know who he was.
Yeah, we saw the son.
The brothers.
The brothers. Yeah, the
We
brothers.
chopping
were
up with
there.
them heavy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, people like that understand the sport. That helps with your progression of moving your needle forward on.
That's right.
Creating
Yeah.
I like that jewel. I like
Yeah.
that jewel. There's always an opportunity to
That's
connect.
where
You
most-
just have to know who's in the room.
You would be surprised, especially on 9W, how many people from, you know, right there is considered Trillionaire Row.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And half those people out there, not saying half, a lot of those people out there cycle.
Yep.
From LG to Smith, all those companies out there, like a lot of those people cycle. So you'd be surprised who you see out there. You know what I mean? Like riding. It's almost like a golf course, similar.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you trying to say we need to be out here with you more? That's what
I'm not sure.
No, I mean, we're out here,
Y'all only
but-
came out here
but-
once. You know, you came, they didn't come. You know.
I forgot where I was at.
Yeah.
They were out of town. They were out of town. Yeah, for sure.
But Aqua's like, yo, they be moving. Yeah, they was
And
moving.
I was an off day too. I was off.
Oh,
I was off.
Oh, we
I was
now.
off.
All right.
He was moving though.
It was fun.
No, he was moving. I'm just saying, I was off.
Oh, you was
Right.
off.
I was
Okay.
moving. I was off.
Yeah. That's what I love about cycling. I love about cycling is, like, I don't know if we would have even been introduced to you if it wasn't for cycling.
Yeah, true.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the beauty of the cycling community, is that, like, literally you can meet people from all walks of life and you share this one common thing, which is like two wheels.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, doesn't matter what color you are, where you come from. The one common theme is y'all love cycling.
Yeah.
Because I first bought my road bike from Strictly here, right? 16. And I was bigger. I was like 3-something. And I was riding, and I would get dropped everywhere. In fact, my first ride from here I went with Amani Tuma.
Oh.
He took me in the park. And I tell him to this day, I'm like, you tried to break me. We were going to the park. It was a big hill. By the time I got to the hill, I was like, CJ had to come get me. You know, like I'm like. He's like, I never knew it was your first ride. I'm like, yeah, whatever. He tried to break me. So to this day, me and him always go back and forth, riding because I'm like, I'm gonna try to break him on. Right. Then one last 2 summers ago, I dropped all of them. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And then he trained so hard, I can't keep up with Monty no more.
Right.
He trained so hard, like
that pro level of competitiveness came out.
So bad. He was so mad.
He didn't like that.
He came back and it's like Amani's back Amani. Like,
he back in football shape.
Yeah, he lowered in football shape. He lost off more weight. So now I'm back on it. Like, all right, this winter I'm going back in the bag to train hard to come back for next summer.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, your schedule's crazy. Like during this time.
So I travel on Tuesdays to my shoppers in Charlotte. All the NASCARs in Charlotte. I do a day trip, and then on the weekends we go to the racetrack. So 3 or 4 days out the week I'm not in here, but like we have bikes at the track with the ride, Peloton. I try to get it in. I like the Peloton better than a trainer.
Yeah. Oh, I don't. I can't do the Peloton.
But the Peloton make you stronger.
Explain this, John.
Let's hear this.
Explain this.
Because you on your bike on the trainer, so you only gonna go a certain resistance. It feels like it's a lot, but you could turn that trainer on the Peloton up to 100 or 90, and you can get more resistance than you will on it. Make the Peloton make me way stronger than
Zwift. Yeah,
interesting.
Zwift.
I'm gonna have to try that next week.
Because he's basically
I'm gonna
saying,
try that.
like, as Alpe is really where you get the resistance because the steep, right?
Yeah.
But he's saying it don't matter at any point in time on the Peloton. You can just turn it to 90, and you're already like having the equivalent of resistance as going up Alpe.
Yeah, and plus you on a bike that's not gonna break. I'd be nervous about on my own bike on the what's the name?
Torquing it, trying to put the weight down.
I got an aluminum bike for that. So
I just feel like every time I focus on the Peloton, I get way stronger than I would on Zwift.
I never thought about it like that.
I'm gonna try that.
Yeah, I never thought about it like that.
Peloton gets me strong.
I'm gonna try that. I'm down to try anything to dust somebody this summer.
So 45 minutes on a ride in Peloton because I don't go off of there. They be like, well, go resistant to 45 to 55. I'll be on 68, 67.
Right.
Yeah.
Or I stay between my resistance on Peloton between 55, and then if I stand up, it stays at 85 to 95.
Right.
Yeah.
I stand up. I twisted her before I even stand up.
Right.
Yeah.
And I go to 85, 95 just standing up to get that resistance.
Right.
Okay.
Right. To mimic like you're going
to
up that
mimic
climb.
outside,
yeah.
Y'all got different tactics out here. Okay.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Now I can't wait to see you in these streets, John.
What up?
But no, you kind of brushed over it, but I think that's amazing to talk about your weight loss journey.
Yeah.
Like, talk to us about that in more depth and how you felt and how you are feeling.
So COVID was like, I lost like 100 in COVID.
Wow.
Because COVID was like, COVID was probably the best thing for me. Like, just being in the house, not going out late.
Sit
not
down,
going
man.
Had me every day waking up at 6 a.m. working out, then work out again. Because you had nothing else to do.
Yeah.
Right?
To do.
Like you had to go to the store, eat right. I was just so focused. Yusef that owns PRX, I don't know if you he had online classes, working with him, and then I had lost weight. Then I got back to cycling because I left cycling between 2016 and like 2018 and COVID. 2 years I stopped cycling because I was frustrated. I kept getting dropped, and I was like, I'm tired of this. And then when I got back on the bike, I was fast. I was like, I'm back on my bike. I'm good now.
Right.
So from there, I'm back to cycling again.
That's what's up.
Dope.
What's up?
Thank y'all for tuning in. Everybody,
Thank you.
hit up the Black Watch page, Cycling on
Yes.
IG. Please subscribe on the YouTube channel, all of that.
Yes.
Subscribe, follow, and like everywhere
Yes.
we are.
Everywhere. Please do.
Yeah.
We got you.
Yeah, more
Peace.
More watch.